Shadow Priest versus Quest Fell Demon Hunter. I'm Uncorrupt. I'm going to be going through a replay, breaking it down turn by turn, making sure that you understand why I make the choices that I make in the game and the things that I'm thinking about from one turn to the next. Right off the bat, we're going straight into the mulligan, so as I load into the game here, I see that my opponent is actually going to be a Demon Hunter. And as I like to say, you have to make an assumption about what kind of deck your opponent is playing so that you know what to mulligan for. And I like to go with the percentages simply because what you've seen the most of, you're somewhat going in blind, but if you have a history of seeing a certain kind of deck, for example, Hunter, you always assume it's going to be Face Hunter because that's being played significantly more than Quest Hunter. With Demon Hunter, it's a little bit different. I haven't seen people playing very much Demon Hunter at all the last quite a few weeks, to be honest. And then certainly since the release of the mini set, I haven't seen Demon Hunter at all. This is my first game against Demon Hunter since the mini set released. So I'm kind of loosely aware that there is a Fell Demon Hunter deck that also runs the quest, simply because I was watching the Masters Tour and I do think quite a few people brought it. So as I was making this mulligan, I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is going to be Fell Demon Hunter, and then I need to mulligan appropriately for that. So I know first of all that I want to be able to develop a board because I have to be able to do damage to my opponent's face, and then I try to think about in a matchup that you're maybe not as familiar with, you kind of have to think about how the game is going to go. So if you know exactly how the matchup goes, if it's something you play a lot, then your mulligan could almost be automatic. I know I need card A, card B, card C. Because I'm not as familiar with this matchup, haven't played it recently, don't know exactly what's in my opponent's deck, I try to think my way through it. What's my opponent going to do? So I need to build a board, and what they want to do is remove the board. And they're going to remove the board with things like Immolation Aura, Fell Barrage, Fellscream Blast, and to a lesser extent, maybe Fury and Chaos Strike. But ultimately, my opponent's going to be playing spells. So as far as the mulligan here goes, I definitely want to keep the Cult Neophyte. Peasant, if you play this out on turn 1, it just dies to the hero power, so not necessarily great there in this matchup. And of course, being on the coin, we're going second, so this never survives. I feel like we can do better. I'm going to keep Freshman. That gives us a good turn 1 play. I keep Freshman in every matchup. Just getting the 1/4 on board on turn 1 is really about the best that this deck can do. Certainly one of the strongest turn 1 plays. And then I just like to keep Mankrik. Mankrik, I think, is also a keep in every matchup if you already have a 1-drop in hand. If you're on the play and you have Mankrik but no 1-drop, you may have to actually mulligan this. We definitely want to hit the board on turn 1. But we kind of have a, we've got a 1-drop. Cult Neophyte not necessarily going to be played on turn 2. We want to try to play this for maximum value to be able to deny our opponent from playing the spells that they want to play when they want to play them. So we're going to have to think before we play this. But we've got a 1. We've got a 3, we've got a coin, so, we'll figure something out. So, getting into the game as the game starts, I don't know this until my opponent actually plays their turn 1, but our opponent does play the quest, and then, so we come into our turn number 1, and I'm thinking, okay, this is the deck that I think it is. I don't know exactly what cards my opponent is playing, so at this point, if you want to take things a bit more seriously, you realize that your opponent is playing some type of a quest Demon Hunter deck that you're not familiar with. You can always check outside sources to try to get a little bit more information about what your opponent could be playing. Could be, say, hsreplay.net, which is where I'm actually watching this replay. Could be Vicious Syndicate. Could be Twitter. But, maybe you want to try to figure out more about what your opponent is playing and what's in the deck. It can give you just a little bit of an edge. Certainly not required. Some people don't take Hearthstone that seriously, which honestly I think is great if you're just playing it to be more relaxed. I am a little bit more concerned about winning games and, trying to get my rank to be in a little bit better place. So I try to keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on. So confirmed here, it is going to be Quest Demon Hunter. And again, I don't have any evidence in game yet, but I was expecting it to be Fell Demon Hunter with the quest of some variety. So I'm just going to play my Freshman on turn 1, and then I'm also thinking, we top deck a second Neophyte, so I'm thinking I'm going to go Freshman on 1, I'm going to coin Mankrik, and then I've got Neophyte Peasant for turn 3 into Neophyte on 4. So hopefully that's going to be able to lock my opponent out from being able to play removal spells, from being able to play card draw spells to advance the quest. really the neophytes just allow me a way to be able to disrupt my opponent's game plan. So loosely, that's just kind of what I'm thinking about. I hit the board with the freshman. Of course, didn't know this at the time, but our opponent top decks Magtheridon, and it looks like our opponent just goes hero power and punches us in the face here. So I'm coming back into my turn on this. The top deck is Smite. That doesn't change the play. So coin Mankrik. I'm just going with the game plan that I kind of already had established before the turn. So now, we've got minions on the board. We're looking to do damage face. So at this point, I had considered, my opponent can use Fel Barrage. To the best of my knowledge, if this isn't correct, please hit me up in the comments. To the best of my knowledge, both minions have the same health. I believe this is just a coin flip as to what Fel Barrage actually hits. So it could have hit Mankrik, it could have hit Frazzled Freshman, assuming that I'm correct. Get lucky here if that's the case. Freshman is actually the one that dies. Of course, the second bolt is going to hit the same target as the first because it's lower health. So our opponent has the Fel Barrage, and at least to the best of my knowledge, I just get lucky here, and Mankrik survives. Then you can see the hero power and swing face. Mankrik's still on the board, and again, we top deck second peasant. I'm just going to keep to the game plan that I already had established earlier. My turn 3, pretty straightforward, neophyte peasant, and really just hoping that my opponent isn't going to be able to play removal spells. As you can see there, they actually had second Fel Barrage, which is going to clean up 2 minions quite nicely. But again, Mankrik still survives. A nice 3-4 on board in the early game is going to be getting to go face again. So not totally upset with that outcome. Certainly wish that I would have been able to keep more than just Mankrik on board, but things are probably going as well as they can go. Again, Fel Demon Hunter is really just a defensive deck. It excels at healing and removing minions from board. It's a little bit different, I would assume, with the quest version. They maybe don't have as much healing. You're certainly not going to see like a Chaos Leech. There's not going to be, potentially eye beams that you might see in a traditional Fel Demon Hunter that doesn't run quest. They've had to cut a little bit of that kind of thing to be able to run more draw cards so that they can actually complete the quest here. So all things told, things are going okay in this game. And then again, I'm just trying to spend all my mana here, so I play the Neophyte. The game is going exactly according to the game plan that I came up with really on, what was that, turn 1, I think? As we were thinking about what we were going to do. And then in an effort to just spend all 4 of my mana, it's Neophyte, Peasant, and Void Touch Attendant. Attendant actually allows us to get an extra damage this turn out of Mankrik. We present the biggest possible board, and then hopefully with Neophyte being played going into turn 5, in order to clear this, they would have to have exactly, I think, Immolation or an Arcanist, which would be all 5 of their mana. So potentially the board could be cleared here, but this is actually just, I want to build the strongest board I can possibly have. I can't control whether or not my opponent has that removal. I'm trying to disrupt it as best I can with Cult Neophyte. Ultimately, if they have the removal, there's nothing that I can do about it, and I can't win if I don't develop a board. So I make the strongest play that I can possibly make and just hope that they don't have it. If they have it, I likely just lose the game. My board is gone. I probably am unable to develop another board, with just Mr. Smite here in hand. So playing directly into removal, should my opponent have it, but it's still the correct play to make. It's the highest percentage play. If I don't develop a board, I never win. I develop a board, and if they don't draw the removal, then we have a chance to be able to win that. So this is an unfavored matchup. Fel Demon Hunter, it's defensive, it's anti-aggro, it has healing, it has removal. So realistically, not expecting to win this game. I just want to make sure that I make the correct plays to give myself the highest possible chance to win, and so that's exactly what we're doing. We spend our mana, we build our board, and we're going face. Our opponent here, they actually just play the Immolation Aura, and you can see it's going to remove Cult Neophyte as well as the Peasant, and then they're going to hero power, and they actually kill our Void Touch Attendant, so they take 2 more damage doing that, but they get it off the board. So pretty strong turn from our opponent, and our opponent's likely feeling pretty good here. You can see the top deck is another freshman. This turn isn't great, it doesn't feel good, but I just can't spend mana. We play a 1-drop, and we're going to hero power our opponent. We literally did everything we could possibly do and still floated 2 mana. So bit of a weak turn, bit of a disappointing turn, but we know that we did the best we could. Interestingly enough, our opponent plays Magtheridon here, which kind of surprised me. I I had a pretty strong feeling that they would not be able to remove all 3 of the minions this turn to be able to proc the Mag Theridon to clear the board. They played it really more as a setup turn. Go ahead and play minions if you want, but I'm going to clear them on the following turn. And then they go ahead and get a little bit of healing by doing some damage. And then that puts them in a position where if they top deck, say, like second Immolation Aura, they can clean this up. Really just looking to really try to be able to get the Mag Theridon on the board. So, don't know what this card was. They never got the opportunity to play it. This probably didn't feel great from their point of view. It's kind of a setup, but they have no real clear way to be able to remove these minions. I believe our opponent just felt like this was the best play that they could make, and so they drop it on the board, even though it adds 3 minions to the board. So a little bit dangerous maybe from their point of view. 1 Void Attendant already killed, but of course we run a second Void Attendant that could be played, which turns this from 1 damage into 2 damage each. And then also there's the potential of Raise Dead. The Raise Dead pool does have multiple minions in it now. We can't guarantee Void Touch Attendant. But again, could just be a little bit risky, but our opponent didn't have anything else to do, so this was the line that they chose to take here. Fellscream Blast, they're going to heal for 3 and try to set these up to be able to kill them a little bit more. And then here comes the Fury, and they actually swing into the Mankrik. So they wanted to remove the 3 power minion versus removing possibly one of these to be able to set up the Mag Theridon, but they do take that damage in the process. So net healing here is actually neutral. They healed for 3, but then they took 3, removing the Mankrik. And then, of course, they do have the Jace in hand. Didn't know that at the time from my side of the board. But they're going to be able to replay the Fell spells that have already been played, which is going to be a couple of Fell Barrages. And of course, they have the Fellscream Blast played as well as the Immolation Aura, which would be able to clean this up nicely. So they've got their Mag Theridon set up, and they're going to be ready to go. So at this point, we draw the Void Shard. So options would be either Void Shard and Hero Power Face for damage, or just play Mr. Smite. Ultimately, I choose to play the Mr. Smite here, and I wanted to be careful with the positioning. I put the Mr. Smite in between the Hellfire Warders on purpose, having that higher health minion separating these. If our opponent draws a second Fellscream Blast and say like a Talented Arcanist that we would think could possibly be in their deck, or maybe a Thalnos, we separate these minions so that Fellscream Blast can no longer kill all 3 of these, and to try to keep that Mag Theridon dormant. So definitely just a note there on positioning. A good note for positioning anytime your opponent plays Mag Theridon in any matchup whatsoever. We just want to make it hard for him to be able to proc the Mag Theridon as hard as possible. And then all of our damage is going to go face. Mr. Smite gives us the nice little 6 damage here. And as you can see, just punching our opponent in the face, working their health total down. And we have them now down to 5. So the Jace is actually played here for 7 mana. I believe it was drawn from Sigil of Alacrity. That allowed it to be reduced and played. So when our opponent plays this, they know that they're going to clear our entire board. If nothing else, Immolation Aura is going to clear these 3 minions, and then Mag Theridon will erupt and clear anything that might still be surviving. So they play this, and they are hoping to get some healing from the Fellscream Blast, and then also to get the big 12-12 on board. So when I see this come down, I'm thinking to myself, this is great. We've got a lethal setup at 6 damage with Void Shard and the Hero Power. And then we can see that kind of as this turn plays out, Immolation Aura, Fell Barrage is going to clean up all of this nicely. As far as the order goes, the Fellscream Blast is actually going to come out last on these Fell spells. You can see Fellscream Blast hits here, and they're able to heal for 1. So Fellscream Blast, fortunately, did not hit on our side of the board where we had more minions for an increase in healing. And then we just have the lethal setup with Void Shard and Hero Power. So things actually worked out really, really well for us in this game. Pretty straightforward. You can't do anything about the cards that are in your opponent's deck. You can't just magically make their deck not have removal. So we kept Cult Neophyte. Wanted to try to disrupt our opponent's game plan as much as possible. And then outside of that, in this matchup, you just have to develop your board, and hope that they don't have removal, and that actually gives you the best possible chance to win the game. So definitely very, very lucky to be able to win this game. Not going to sit here and pretend like it was some, massive amount of skill that allowed us to win the game, but we took the lines of play that gave us the highest percent chance to be able to win, and the hero power comes in and finishes off our opponent. That is the replay. That is the analysis. If you like this style of video, definitely hit me up in the comments. I'm planning on doing more of these if people enjoy them. I like going over the replays. It gives me time to break down the decisions. Gives me a chance to talk about possible misplays, not only from my side, but also my opponent's side of the board, and just an overall good game review. Thank you for watching. Good luck out on the ladder.